Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us tonight. This is the TTC Public Forum on Accessible Transit, the 8th annual, and it's my pleasure to be your facilitator tonight. My name is Jim Fott. I'm independent facilitator. I don't work for TTC. They've been kind enough to ask me to do this for tonight. So my job is to make sure that we're on time, on agenda, and we have as much feedback from you as we can receive in the most efficient way. So we'll get to that in a minute. We are also live streaming this event tonight, so there are people at home watching this on their computers. And if you would like to pose a question or provide a comment or feedback, you can use the Twitter handle hashtag TTC Access, ACCESS. TTC Access hashtag is the Twitter hashtag that you will use to provide your comments or questions. So we'll get to as many of those throughout the evening as we possibly can as well. That's the questions and comments and feedback from the room. So, tonight's agenda is fairly straightforward. We're going to have a few welcome and introduction remarks. The chair of the TTC is here to welcome you. We're going to have an accessibility committee update from Mazen, TTC accessibility update from our Chris Upfold, who is the TTC Deputy CEO and Chief Customer Officer. And then we're going to get right to you. So we've heard you in the past that the presentations have gone on too long. We've really shortened it down this year so that we can give you the highlights. All this information you can get online or through other means. So the presentations will be brief, and the purpose of tonight is to have your feedback and your comments and your questions. So, without further ado, I want to also let you know that there are attendants in the red shirts throughout the hall, and they can help you with your questions when we get to that portion. There is an assistance card if you want an assistance with performing a comment or a question. So these assistance cards are available, and they can help you with those. And we already have collected quite a few, so we'll get to some of those as we make the rounds with the comments and questions. So without further ado, I'll introduce Josh Cole, who is the chair of the TTC, and he will welcome you tonight.
Thank you very much. I was told to keep my comments brief because we want to hear from you, so I've trimmed down my speech just to about 45 minutes. Don't give a politician a microphone. I want to welcome everyone to the forum today and really thank you all for being here. I think this is a really important opportunity for us to hear from you. This is the 8th meeting we've had, and obviously something that we will continue to do and continue to be proudly offering to our riders so that we can have the most accessible system possible. It's really crucial that the TTC as a public transit agency provides service to all people in this city, regardless of any of our levels of mobility. And for getting around Toronto, the TTC is becoming easier for our customers who do face mobility challenges, and we continue to work hard on this effort as we move towards 2025, as we move to a fully accessible system. And of course, at that time, there'll be opportunities to transfer more people to the conventional system to give everyone the flexibility and the choice and the opportunity that all our customers enjoy. As many of you know right now, we're undertaking work to continue to convert our streetcar fleet to make them fully accessible. If anyone has any contacts at Bombardier, I would ask that you please employ those now to help us out. We're opening we just opened 2 more accessible stations at Dufferin and Lawrence West. I may touch on Lawrence West in a moment, which is in my ward. Andy Byford is shuddering right now. We continue to revamp the seating priority system. We're ensuring that our subway fleet's accessible and can be boarded by people using wheelchairs, scooters, or other mobility devices. We're providing wheelchair and scooter-friendly buses and bus routes, including more than 30 Blue Night routes and 5 community bus routes. And we're trying to improve our customer information services to relay audio and visual cues on our vehicles and across our system. But we know we have a lot more work to do. We're certainly proud of the achievements we've made to date, but we have to make sure that we have a system, as I said at the outset, that is accessible and truly accessible for everyone. I want to just mention that we have a couple of my fellow commissioners here. Commissioner Shelley Carroll is here. Commissioner Alan Heisey is here. MPP Peter Milchin, former TTC commissioner, is here from the province. And I encourage you with this audience and with people in front of you here to make sure that we do hear your input and suggestions. So many of the improvements that I just mentioned earlier are directly related to the suggestions we've heard from you in a variety of fashions. And this isn't the only opportunity for you to provide that input. I encourage you, obviously, if you can't, for those who couldn't be here today or at any time when you're riding the system, to contact 416-393-3030 with any input, or ttc.ca. Of course, everyone is always welcome at ACAT meetings and at our regular TTC Board meetings, and I encourage you to come to those. I briefly kind of mentioned Lawrence West Station. That's one that's near and dear to my heart, and that elevator has finally been put in. It's been made accessible, but it took 8 years to do that, and that's just not acceptable. And I commend a lot of the people sitting in front of you now for pushing to make sure it finally got done. But I think if we talk about wanting to be a system that's fully accessible and meets the needs of all of our riders, then we can do much better than that. And so what I'll leave you with today is a few things. I'll obviously commit to you that we're here to listen and to learn, especially me being new to this role. There's much for me to learn, and we'll continue to do that. And that's just not us. That's our operators and all our employees who will try to do their best to make sure that the system and service we provide is excellent. The other thing that is, I think, as a commission we can do is become a voice with you to the city, to the province, to fellow Torontonians, so that everyone appreciates why we need a fully accessible system and why it's not a nice to have, it's a must have in Toronto. And finally, I think that we all have to work together to set a standard where we're not catching up with other systems, where we are become the standard for all transit systems around the globe that others aspire to. And I think if that's a goal that we have collectively, everyone in this room, everyone who rides the system, then I think we will finally be doing our job. So again, I thank you for being here tonight. I thank you for your continued commitment to giving us that input, and I look forward to hearing more of that tonight and through the course of the next weeks and months to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Josh. I'm just going to back up one slide just to make sure that we go over what it is tonight. This is your night. Your suggestions, your concerns, your issues, and your compliments. If you have compliments, certainly we're here to hear those tonight. So we're going to have a process tonight that we're going to go around the room with questions after we have the presentations, and we will get to that in a minute. So I want to introduce the panel. Starting on this end of the table, we have Eve Wiggins, who's the TTC head Wheel-Trans. Next, we have Mitch Stambler, who's the TTC head of strategy and service planning. In the middle of the table, we have Andy Byford, the chief executive officer of TTC. And then we have Chris Upfold, who is the TTC deputy CEO and chief customer officer. He will be doing the second half of the presentation. And to start off the presentation will be Mazen Aribi, who is the 2015 chair of ACAT. So I'm going to turn it over to Mazen, and he will take the presentation from here.
Thank you, Jim. Does everybody hear me? Great. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for coming here. It's great to see all of you here. It shows how interested you are in accessible transit in the city of Toronto. I shall try that.
Volume up on that.
Yes. At ACAT, we've been trying to work very hard with the TTC to make sure that the services are accessible and friendly for all. It's a public transit, and we're all entitled to use it, so we're trying very hard to implement that. This year, ACAT had a lot of challenges as we lost our chair, Susan Davidson, in the beginning of the year, and we would like to keep her always in our memories and thoughts. I have a few slides that I'm going to go through. Roles of ACAT. Basically, ACAT, I should put my glasses, represent the needs and concerns of people with disabilities and seniors who use the TTC. We also advise TTC Board and staff, and we do hold monthly meetings. ACAT have 4 subcommittees: design review, service planning, communications, and Wheel-Trans operations. ACAT in action. ACAT members also sit in TTC Customer Liaison. Okay, thank you. Metrolink's Accessibility Advisory Committee to advise on Eglinton Crosstown LRT. Also, Relief Line Stakeholders Advisory Panel. And the last one is the City of Toronto Transit Fare Equity Advisory Committee. So ACAT is involved in all that. ACAT priorities. Integrate accessibility components into TTC policies and procedures. Advice on Wheel-Trans program review. Encourage Wheel-Trans customers to use conventional transit for part or all of their trip. Accessibility customer education campaign. Accessibility feature in place at launch of new vehicles and services. Continue to advocate accessibility as an important objective in the TTC's 5-year corporate plan. How to become an ACAT member for 2016. ACAT is currently seeking 5 new members for the 2016. Interested applicants must attend an info session at City Hall, Committee Room 2, on 2 days, October 8th from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., also on October 9th, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. If you are interested in contacting ACAT, you may reach us via email at acat@ttc.ca or through Wheel-Trans customer service at the phone number for customer service is 416-393-4111. 416-393-4111. Also, ACAT hold monthly meetings, and it's open to the public. And also, you are welcome to make a deputation before ACAT should you wish to. With that, my slides are over. I'd like to acknowledge all of you who made the effort to come here. Also, a lot of ACAT members are around this hall, and ACAT have a booth on the other side of the building. Also, you are welcome to address any questions. And thank you again, and it's always good to see you coming here. It shows the passion and the interest in accessible transit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mazen. And now we'll turn it over to Chris Upfold, who's the Deputy CEO and Chief Customer Officer, to go through a few of his slides.
Thank you, and thank you, Mazen. So I hope to just take us through, I think it's appropriate at annual events like this that we acknowledge what we have achieved over the last year, but also to talk about some of the things that you told us last year at this same event a year ago, and the things that we have done to address that. So I'm going to take through a few slides that explain those things. So an update on buses. There they are. All of our buses now at the TTC are accessible, and 97% of those buses are low floor. Next on the agenda is to have 100% low floor buses by 2016, but also begin to introduce external route announcements. So when you are not on the bus, but waiting for the bus, you can hear audibly what the bus number is, what its route is, and where your destination is. On Wheel-Trans, we have 201 modern low-floor Wheel-Trans buses, which provides a service for customers with physical disabilities. Next, of course, for us is to begin to work towards the AODA commitment to expand that eligibility criteria beyond those just with mobility impairments and to come up with a modernized fleet to continue to serve our great Wheel-Trans customers. On streetcars, as the Chair mentioned, today we have accessible streetcars on the 509 Harbourfront and the 510 Spadina. Working closely with our good partners at Bombardier, who I'm sure will continue to support the delivery of their streetcars, by 509 and 510 will be fully accessible in early 2016. The 511 Bathurst and 505 Dundas will follow after that, with all streetcar routes accessible by 2019. On our subway service, all of our subway trains are accessible. And next for us is to begin to install, similar to the buses, external door chimes and route announcements so that when you're waiting on the station, on the platform, you can learn where that train is headed. On our subway stations, today we have 34 accessible stations with elevators just recently installed at Dufferin and Lawrence West in 2014. Next for us in 2016 is St. Clair West, an important interchange station with our streetcar service, and then Woodbine, Ossington, and Coxwell to follow in 2017. Of course, our subway extension to Vaughan opens in 2017, and that will be accessible from its very opening day. New accessible Presto gates, at least two at every station, will provide improved accessibility to our stations so that you can actually get down to the service. That will happen next year. We have a 5-year, multi-year plan accessibility update. Of the 41 objectives in that plan that takes us out to 2018, 19 objectives have been met, and the 22 remaining will be completed by 2018. We report annually to our board on our progress against those plans, and I would encourage you to look at those plans so you can see the great things that we have coming. We have major planned initiatives within that plan: easier access upgrades at a further 9 stations, improving escalator and elevator availability, the external route announcements that I mentioned on our vehicles, and the review of Wheel-Trans criteria. So in 2014, last year, we heard lots from you. Over 400 comments were received from customers at this very event, and every one of those reviewed by our staff and by ACAT to understand what our priorities should be for the coming years and to make sure that we were able to answer those specific concerns. In 2014, we heard that you wanted us to make Wheel-Trans telephone booking easier and faster. Since that time, we've added 7 more reservationists to improve that service. We are adding 6 more reservationists this year, and the result is reduced booking and wait times and more trips booked. Last year, you told us that there was a difference in height between some of our subway cars and the platforms. So what we've done over the course of this year, since you told us that, we have lowered our new subway trains, and additionally, we have installed a new platform edge at Eglinton Station beside the elevator to attempt to bridge that gap that can make it difficult for some of our customers to get on and off the trains at that station. In 2014, you continued to tell us, as you had told us before, that oftentimes the ramp isn't working on a bus and it doesn't provide you the reliability you need to ensure that you can take a trip. Since then, we've improved many of our procedures. We've checked for failures, and we check those buses, every one of those buses, before they leave the garage to ensure that the ramp is working. And we've deployed a new tool in all of our buses to help our drivers manually deploy that ramp if it's needed. In 2014, last year, you told us you wanted to see more publicity around our priority seating. So what we've done is we've introduced much newer and bolder decals to help customers understand the purpose of those seats. We have an ongoing education campaign to help customers understand that there are many other people that need those seats as well. And we've changed our priority seating color to blue to again reinforce the fact that there is something special about these seats to make customers both feel more able to ask for it if they need it, but also to educate our other customers that there might be somebody that needs the seat. In 2014, we heard that if elevator is malfunctioning, we need to be able to fix it faster. I'm pleased to say that in 2016 we'll be rolling out a real-time monitoring system. So right now we only learn if an elevator isn't working if one of our customers tells us or one of our members of staff notices it. In 2016 we'll put in place a plan and a system that will automatically alert us when an elevator goes out of service. So one, we can tell our customers to rely on that elevator, and two, we can ensure it's fixed as quickly as possible. So for all the other actions that you've told us about, the things you've said, we've compiled a full report, and that's available on the accessibility section of our website, ttc.ca. And finally, from me, the summary is around making the TTC accessibility. At the TTC, we have a long-standing commitment to accessibility. And I think, as the chair said, our goal is not to simply do what we think is the bare minimum, but make ourselves a beacon for transit systems around the world on just how accessible our services are. We've made significant progress in increasing our Wheel-Trans service, in improving accessible buses and subway trains, and providing elevators and accessible features in stations. As I said before, all streetcar routes will be accessible by 2019, with a target of all subway stations accessible by 2025. So I think this proves that at these events, when you tell us things, we take them seriously, we look at all the comments, and as part of our continual improvement progress, we make changes to make sure that we continue to serve our customers better and better. And by ensuring that all of our customers can use our service, that's how we really truly will make Toronto accessible to all Torontonians. I thank you again for coming, and I look forward to hearing all your comments.
So we're here to hear from you about how to improve TTC accessibility. We're looking for creative solutions. We're looking for respect for every participant here tonight. We're respecting your time. We want to make sure that we can hear from as many people as possible. So you can see a countdown clock of 2 minutes. If you can keep your questions or comments brief, up to 2 minutes, it'll count down to 0. That would be great. If you need extra time, we can work on that. And staff are here to help. There are staff with the red shirts who can help you with the blue cards if you want to have a question or comment submitted, that we can make sure that we hear from you. So we want your feedback tonight. And there's a number of ways to do that. There is the blue cards, as we said, but there also is the survey that's available here. And a number of you have already filled it out. So take the opportunity to fill out that survey so that we can make accessibility better and this forum better for you next year. So now it's time for discussion. We want to know what you think. I've taken the opportunity to divide the room into 6 quadrants. We have 6 staff from TTC with microphones, and they'll come to you for your question or comment. And I'd like to start with this part of the room. We're going to start here, move to the back, and work our way around the room. There's 6 quadrants. So if Mark is available with his question for this quadrant, is there somebody in this quadrant who has a question or comment? So they'll come to you next. He's got a person back there.
I actually come to these every year. My name's Louise. I used to live in Kingston, now I live here. And I've had a lot of experience with both systems, plus many different communities. During the Pan Am Games, I ran into some big issues. And I have to say that, you know, at times we get so mad at our service providers because communication doesn't work. But I had a miracle phone call the other day from Dean Milton to fix up some communication that badly broke down during the games. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that at times they do listen. It's sometimes a bit late, but there is an attempt made. And I think that they are approachable. It's getting to them. So I think they're working on that. And I want to say thank you for that. Second thing is, in the case of streetcars, one of the things I was trying to use in the summer was the Bathurst car. I saw it running up and down, and I thought, oh, good. But then I guess they just took it off with no warning. Apparently it was temporary, but I didn't know. And so I'm just saying that we have the TTC alerts, and it would be very useful to have TTC alerts making announcements of when they come online or when they go off of line. And I just found out about the app Next Bus. So that Next Bus feature is maybe something to market or something else, just ways that we can end up being able to use the system better as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We move to the back quadrant. Jane, is there anybody in that back quadrant who has a comment or question? Anybody in that back quadrant? Seeing none, we'll move over to Sarah in the back. So Sarah has someone there.
I have noticed.
Oh, your mic's not on. Just flick the switch up.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Oh, yeah,
Yes.
I can hear it now.
Yeah.
Okay. I have noticed just recently, because I am a Wheel-Trans user, that there are some new vehicles that have been obtained that are considered as a sedan and not as a regular taxi, and these are not wheelchair accessible because they don't have a ramp. But they're like an SUV that has a very high step. And when I commented on this to the driver had told me, well, this is all what is going to happen now, and we are getting new vehicles, and this is what we're being used. Also, I phoned into customer service, and I didn't get much of a satisfactory answer about why they're changing their sedan taxis to these inconvenient ones that have the very high step that if my mother and my late mother-in-law, both late parents, had been alive, would never have been able to step up into them. Why are the cars being changed?
Okay, we'll hear back from the panel in a minute on that. Stephen, comment or question in the back corner. Stephen? Microphone, just flick the switch up if your microphone's not working. No. Other microphones coming there. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Laurie Sue Robertson. I wrote May I Help You if you've taken your training. You should, then you know me, sort of. What I find when I get on the subway is there's two groups of people. There are some who jump up from their chairs and offer me a seat when obviously I've already got one with me, and so I don't need that. There are others who sit very staunchly on the blue accessibility seats and make a point of ignoring me. So I think that what we really need is a lot more education for the non-disabled public, because they really don't get it. They think that I need a seat when I've got one with me, and they don't want to give me the parking space when I need it. So it's very frustrating and makes me a hazard to them on the train because I'm rolling around all over the place.
Thank you for that. Sharon, a question here. There's one there. We'll come back to you, sir, next round. So come here first. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I got lots of ideas, but it's only got 2 minutes, so let's see if I can condense this. It's always about money. Here's an idea I have. It's very simple. This is one of those garden lights you put in your driveway, on your lawn. Take this, make it 10 feet tall, a big white bulb on top with a blue Wheel-Trans logo on it. The drivers are always going to be able to find our house. This is going to cost you money. This is going to make you $100 million a year, net, because you can put banners on them for advertising. I'll go into details later. Number one. Number two, you guys are talking about the subway system. If you've been to the airport, they have the motorized walkway there. This sounds radical. I know it sounds crazy, but get rid of the subway cars. Put motorized walkway down on the platform. It'll run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 400 days of the year, constantly. There'll be no backup. It'll be going constantly. If the technology already exists, all you have to do is make it bigger in there. Okay? Number three, we have the Metro links. Raise the GST, PST, HST, OMG tax 1%, make all mass transit free. Sweden already does this. Sweden has free post-secondary education. They recycle all their trash, and they have eliminated 75% of their jails. So if you truly want to be a world leader, I got more to it as well. I don't want to take up other more time on there, but I can expand on this if you want to hear it. Thank you.
So obviously you spent some time thinking about those ideas. Thank you for those. That's helpful. Mary, is there any questions here? You got one there.
Okay. First of all, this summer, 3 times within 2 weeks I was on buses where air conditioning wasn't working and windows weren't open. And drivers have their own air conditioning, so I felt there was an insensitivity
I asked them to open the roof window, and at least they did. And these had all been out on the road for several hours. It was not something that had just happened. A second thing is more delicate. Religion and politics are my two favorite topics, but driving in Wheel-Trans is not the time to talk about those topics. Last Friday, someone driving with me felt very free to say that we should not have refugees coming to Canada, blah, 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 blah. It was very upsetting. It was upsetting to the driver who told me that when he walked me to the door, and he was obviously an immigrant. I don't know if he was a refugee. Especially as an upcoming election looms, people feel very free to assume that everybody agrees with them, with what they're saying. And I think that customers should be educated to keep those opinions to themselves and not assume that the drivers and the other riders want to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you. Respect is always important. Mark, do you have a question here? And then after you have a question there, I'm going to have you come up and we'll have one of the assistance cards read off. So question over here from Mark.
Yeah, right here. The last panel member that spoke, who was talking about the improvements to the different parts of the system, you forgot one. What about the community buses? You didn't say a word about those. I was wondering if plans to improve the community buses. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mark, if you could come up here and we'll just have one of the assistance cards. Susan has quite a stack there, and she's going to read off throughout the night a number of the questions or comments from the assistance cards. So Susan.
So I have a question on one of the blue cards. As delays in rerouting occur on the transit systems, verbal announcements are broadcast from the transit vehicles and its stations. Are there any plans to add text-based announcements to the vehicles to inform the deaf and hard of hearing TTC riders, reducing confusion and isolation?
Great comment. We'll hear back from the panel in a minute on that. So we're going to move back to Jane at the back. Jane, is there questions back in that back corner? Quiet back corner back there. So we'll move over to Sarah. Sarah, I think you have a couple of people with questions back there. Anybody? Gentleman up here. One at the back there. Yeah. Then we'll move over to Stephen. We're going to move around the room.
I'd like to say I've been listening to everybody. I've been on Wheel-Trans for God knows how many years. The drivers I've had have all been great, whether they're in the cabs or the buses. And they're pretty good about being on time. And also, too, that the only thing wrong is when you go to phone for them, because I don't use a computer. I spent 15 minutes on the phone tonight before I came out, and I couldn't get the ride line, the customer's line for rides. So that could improve a bit. But other than that, the service is great.
Thank you for that comment, and it's nice to hear. I want to remind those who are on live stream that you can put a comment or question into this forum tonight through hashtag TTC Access, and we'll get those those tweets, and we'll make sure that we can read some of those off tonight. So moving back to Stephen in the back corner. I can't see you, Stephen, with these bright lights in my eyes. Stephen, you have somebody with a question back there? Yes.
Hi, my name is Alan Spires. I've been a TTC rider for the last 3 years. My concerns is this. I keep hearing rumors of TTC going third party. If TTC does go third party, and we're charged an astronomical fee, which we would be, I don't think a lot of us in this room would get out or go anywhere, number one. Number two, I'd like to make a comment that probably nobody here has or would think of making, and that's to congratulate and thank each and every driver that I've ever had come and pick me up and to take me to and fro the destination in which I'm going. Most of them are very courteous. Most of them go beyond the means and calls of their duty. And I think it's something that we should be more than aware of and thinking that without them we'd be lost, because I have used this cab system and I've been through many horror stories, and I've been on cabs that certain cab companies are useless. I don't know why they're even used, because they tend to forget or don't bother to show up to pick up people on the proper time. I don't know how many times I've called 416-393-4311. I also believe that this is something that maybe the TTC board could look at, or transit could look at, because if I don't show up in 5 to 10 minutes, you leave without me. But, and in closing, the last thing I'll say, and a lot of people here probably would think the same thing, is that if you don't show up, I've got to wait 30 minutes before I contact you to find out where my ride is and whether or not my ride is coming to pick me up. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure Andy Byford will pass those compliments on to the drivers after this forum. So next we have Sharon up here. You have somebody right in the middle here. Yes.
Hello. I just want to comment on something on the new Toronto Rocket subway trains. I am very criticized is when we hear that arriving at Rosedale Station, doors will open on the right. That new door opening sign announcement is very ridiculous. It's very silly what they've installed on the trains. I'm not sure why they put that there, because I asked people, why are we installing door opening sign announcements like those messages, doors will open on the left, doors will open on the right, is very, very ridiculous and strange, and I'm curious as to why they should install that. But the TTC and Bombardier, who I know that's the manufacturer who makes the new Toronto Rocket subway trains, needs to take a look into this and see if they should remove this from the database or not. Because I'm noticing that some of the new Toronto Rocket trains on the Line 1, the Young University Spadina subway, have those new door opening sign announcements that I've never ever heard in my life. Doors open on the left and doors will open on the right side respectively. But I do know or understand is that they had arrows that show which side the doors are open on. But this is why I find this very, very ridiculous, because I know some people are going to sit at the back of the train, the rear of the train, and some people are going to get confused by the system. And the TTC needs to look into checking that. And I'm just asking whether if this is a pilot project or if they're going to install this on all the Toronto Rocket trains very soon. That new doors will open on the left and doors will open on the right side announcements needs to be looked at. And this is very, very ridiculous. And I believe the TTC, as I said, may have did an honest mistake with that, and it needs to be checked to see if it is indeed necessary. I know there are some blind people that need assistance that are helpful, but some are going to find this very silly. If this needs to be checked out, it should be checked and see whether it's going to be successful or not.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that comment. That's we'll have some response back from the panel on that. So you are playing along. There is a 2-minute countdown timer, and it's helping us to get around to a lot of comments. So we're off to Mary here again.
Yeah. Hi. I just had a question. With regards to the slides Mr. Upfold was showing, I had a few comments. Actually, you indicated that 100% of the buses are accessible, and the ramps every time are checked before they go on their route and whatnot. But I've used the buses a lot of times, and the ramps don't work. And you said that the drivers have the ability to manually open the ramps, but that doesn't happen majority of the time. Like half the time, or maybe even less, the driver will just say that, sorry buddy, the ramp's not working, I can't open it. And you know what, it's pretty easy, because once I'm in the bus, like I can easily just lean down and pick up the ramp, and it's pretty easy for me. So I'm just saying, I'm not even asking you like if it's possible that the bus drivers do it. Like if you can just set up a device where I can just physically pull it, and I don't mind doing that, it's just to get on the bus, because I've been in a situation where 3 buses in a row, the ramp wasn't working, and TTC takes 2 weeks to come back to you with that information. So, and one more thing, I have another minute, is with regards to your plan for accessibility at all subway stations, I saw the numbers for Warden subway station. 17 million to make that accessible. I mean, that is a ridiculous amount of money, and I personally think it can be made accessible. in a lot less, and simply because you can just build one giant ramp because it's on a hill, but that's another thing. It's just that with regards to accessibility at Warden Subway Station, I'm not just asking for accessibility to the subway itself, but the bus platform. You know, there's people, I don't know if any of you have been there at all, but it's just a sidewalk to another sidewalk, and people, able-bodied people just jump the sidewalk and go to another track and access the buses. But a person in a wheelchair can't, because we just need the sidewalk to be accessible. And if we could do that, then at least the bus station is accessible, you know. So it's a temporary fix for we don't have to wait for another 10 years, because who knows where everyone will be in 10 years when everything's accessible. So just to temporarily fix the station. So yeah, that's it. 2 minutes. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that. That's very helpful. Mark, you have a question over in your section.
Yeah, I use subways all the time, and I'm always checking the lift line. Frequently, it hasn't been updated for like 7 or 8 hours. That has to be updated regularly so that we know we can travel safely and get from point A to point B and have all our elevators working. And that's just for just making it easier for us. Another thing is you must give your drivers more sensitivity training. If I get referred to by a wheelchair one more time by a driver, I'm going to go postal on somebody. It's rude.
I'm sure we hear you. The panel hears you. We'll take that comment exactly the way you've said it. So back to the back here. Is there a comment or a question back in the back section? Jane? I think there's someone there. Just wait for the mic so everybody can hear your comment.
Hi, I'm Cal. I have 2 comments actually. One, when I use the subway, when I get off the train, I have to walk for the elevator, and vice versa. And the other comment, I was here during the CNE for TFC game, and there was no accessible streetcars once the game was over. So I had to board a bus, accessible bus.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that comment. Next over to Sarah. Sarah? Someone with a comment or question there? There we go.
She's talking to Sarah.
Go ahead with your question or comment. Microphone not working? That's okay. Okay.
Hello?
Hello.
This is Lily. I'm wondering when they're going to get the trains fixed so that we don't get our wheels caught in the gap and get bruised by the doors closing on us, and getting the people that are supposed to be watching the ramp, the aisleway, that we're on the train before they close the doors. Number 2, the special constables are out there to do their job, not listen to some people and totally ignore the people that called for help and then give them a ticket. Number 3, this year I was awarded an award by Mayor Tory for making every person in the city, no matter what condition, no matter how they walk, how they can talk, and if they can't get out, they make sure that they can get there, they can use a phone or anything else to be able to vote, which hasn't been before in the city. We took it to the Human Rights Commission, and the city helped me sue the city to get them to be able to vote. So now everybody can vote. Thank you.
Well, congratulations on that award from Mayor Tory. Over to Stephen for question. Lots of questions in that back corner. And then we'll come up to the front corner.
Good evening, everyone. 2 very quick items. 1, when buses bypass people in wheelchairs when they're alone at a stop, it'd be really nice if, when you try to report it to TTC, they say, oh, we can't do anything without a bus number. Problem? Legally blind. If you have GPS tracking of the buses, how can you not know what bus it is if you tell them exactly what time it bypassed you and you're near a major intersection? Number 2, the new train's calling out what door is opening. If you face forward or you know which direction the train is traveling in, that's the way. When you're facing the direction of the train traveling, that is the door that it'll describe that is opening. So if you're traveling forward, southbound, and you come to Shepherd Young, the door will be on the right. The reason why it calls that out is not only for blind people, it is for tourists, it is for people that don't know the system, and it's also for seniors to help them get prepared to get off. Seniors do not move as fast as those of us in power wheelchairs, and they need that little extra time. I also would like everyone in this room to take a moment next time they have a loved one nearby and give them a hug. Because Susan Davidson fought like heck for us. We've lost a champion. And I, for one, still can't even say her name without wanting to tear up. I just want to thank everyone, and I love the new venue, except do realize there are no family washrooms in this building. So there's just washroom stalls. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sharon, you have a person right here with a question, comment.
Hi. I've been taking the TTC since it's been a dime. Okay, that's a long time ago. Okay, I have 4 compression fractures and a cracked back. This is for all the people in the room with disabilities. You try and get on the bus drivers will let you on, but sometimes you try and sit down. The TTC needs more money, okay? But the TTC is not going to get more money if the bus drivers don't take their time for the passengers that are paying a fare. When the bus drivers, this is directly for Andy Bedford, that they're going over the bumps at a rate as it is. And I got to go for therapy. Like I said, I had a heart attack. I got epilepsy. I take 16 pills a day. People around me know me in the city because I worked at Woodbine Casino and my family worked for the government. So everybody knows me. So I'm a well-known person. I'll just give him my first name. It's Michael. But if the TTC wants to make it accessible for all the people with disabilities and not disabilities, they should do a better job and teach the drivers respect when people get on. They should treat them with courtesy, not just say, oh, go to the back. People go to the back. I live at Keele and Lawrence, and I try to get on the bus, and 3 buses were going out in the service when there's people lined up going to school. What's the TTC supposed to do when they want to make money when there's 3 buses there? That's all I have to say.
Thank you for that. Mary has a comment or question here in the middle, and then we'll hear from the panel.
Well, good night, everyone. I am very pleased with the drivers. They're so courteous and nice. Most of them, nearly all of them, and their taxis are so clean, and they try to be courteous. I go with my son here. He needs a TTC, the wheel trans, and that is it. The only thing I have a problem is that, like in the winter time when they're late, and you do, and for half an hour and going to an hour and they don't turn up, you don't know what to do. I want to know if they know you're out there waiting, and if you do not have accessibility to phone, if they know you're waiting to be picked up. Because not many times, but a few times, about 5 times, I waited and waited, and I didn't know if they were coming or not. And if they really know you're waiting on them when someone does not pick you up. That's all I have to say. Otherwise, I am very pleased. They're really nice and courteous. They do a fantastic job.
Thank you for that. I think it's time to just pause, and we should turn back to the panel. And Chris, if you want to summarize what's been heard. Or Andy.
Okay. Mic on?
Andy's mic on, please.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, well, look, first up, I think that's a really good and interesting start. I mean, I'll go down maybe halfway through my page and then let one of my colleagues comment. I think, well, the first note I made was around the accessible streetcar, so I might just comment on that. I thought that was a really good, practical idea where someone said, could we send out an alert if, particularly where we have had accessible streetcars on a route, if we take them off, could we at least let you know that? I don't think that would be difficult to achieve, so we'll take that away. Let me just comment on what's going on with those new streetcars. The chair alluded to that. We currently have 9 of them. It's going to be a fleet of 204. You've probably read in the paper or heard on the radio or on the TV the problems we've been having with Bombardier. And the chair and I flew to Thunder Bay basically to make sure that Bombardier were under no illusions as to how unhappy we are with the delay to this order. But hopefully you support us in our strategy, which is we're not going to accept those new streetcars until they're ready and that they are free from defects, because what's the point of paying out good money, your money, for new streetcars if they promptly sit in the garage because they're riddled with faults? So we're holding Bombardier to account for that. The good news is we currently have 9. Number 10 is about to arrive in Toronto imminently. Bombardier have now publicly committed to have 20 on property by the end of this year, and I think time will tell. I think they've finally got their act together in terms of the quality. And when these things are working properly, they're fantastic. They work really well, but we are going to keep on their case, and we will progressively convert the routes as Chris described, and we will give you those low-floor streetcars that we've been promising for ages. So watch this space. We will hold Bombardier's feet to the fire. A couple of other comments from me. A number of you made reference to what I would call courtesy campaigns, where people aren't offering seats or they're not moving out of the wheelchair accessible area. There was a couple of other comments just about the general attitudes of other customers. Now, at the end of the day, as a transit company, we do try to get people to behave courteously and respectfully and considerately. But at the end of the day, you know, everyone's an individual, and it's impossible for us to totally police that. But we are putting together, we regularly do courtesy campaigns to get people to just be considerate, and we will continue to do those. That, again, is a commitment. There were some other things that you mentioned, air conditioning not working on buses. We're doing a lot of work. I think I saw our head of bus maintenance here earlier. We're doing a lot of work to make our bus fleet more reliable, and that will include making sure that the default is that everything works on those buses, that the ramps work, that the aircon works, you know, that all of the auto announcement works. We have, for various reasons, fallen a bit behind with that. We're now taking action to address that. And we will take away the point that was mentioned, I think it was just over there, from what you were saying, that there still is very patchy as to whether operators use the tool that we've given them to use those, to operate the ramp manually. So we will, again, we will deal with that. There was a question, which was the other one I was going to make? Oh, there was a comment made about Warden Station. I agree, 70 million seems ridiculous to me, but Warden Station is actually quite complex. I would put it on a par with Islington, in that the design of the station with those individual bus bays means that in order to make it accessible, you've basically got one of two choices. You either put in an elevator to each of those platforms, the bus platforms, which would be horrendously expensive and probably impractical, or you do what we want to do, which is exactly like what we've done at Victoria Park, where you create a brand new bus station that's level, so you only need one, probably for redundancy, 2 elevators. But I note the point that you were making about the interim solution, maybe do some curb cuts so that people can move across. I won't commit to that, because at face value I'd say that we'd have to really be careful about safety risks in allowing people to move across what are at the end of the day effectively roadways, but we'll at least take it away and have a look at it. Chris, would you like to do something? Thank you.
Just wait for the microphone. We'll get the microphone. This gentleman here who has a point he wants to make, so let's move there and then we'll move back over to Mark. We'll have Mark come up to the blue cards too. So
okay,
go ahead with your comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to say, when you put all the new streetcars on the system, don't totally load one line first, then start the next. You should split the streetcars across multiple lines at a time. This way people can start using those lines right away instead of having to wait years and years until a specific line gets available. Because you remember, you can always have regular streetcars in the same line as with the new streetcars.
Thank you for that comment.
Okay, let me just respond to that, if I may.
Oh, okay.
You could, but there is a reason why we don't. And the reason is it's quite complex because you have to have the infrastructure ready on an individual route in order to accommodate a new streetcar. So that route has to have level access, so the right level of the curb cuts have to be done before you put a new streetcar on. Otherwise it's pointless if the curb cuts or the islands aren't able to accept the ramp, because you'll still end up with an inaccessible streetcar. Number two, we are rolling out, we're upgrading the overhead wire from which the streetcars draw their power, and these new streetcars draw a lot more power than the old streetcars because they've got air conditioning and they've got various other modern equipment. So you do need to upgrade the wire, and we're doing that line by line. Number three, it makes sense to always do lines that are basically paired, like Bathurst and Spadina, because that way, if a streetcar breaks down on a route, then you can divert onto the adjacent route. So we're doing the route rollout in pairs. And number four, in order to provide the real benefit to a route, you really, our view is that you need to convert that line in totality before you move to the next, which is why we're doing the smaller routes first, because somewhere like Spadina, you don't need that many new streetcars to convert, whereas King and Queen, you need a lot more. But, I do hear you. I know people want them. We're pressing Bombardier to get on with it, and we will start to see those things roll out regularly and reliably from the end of this year.
Thank you for that, Andy. A lot of thought's been put into this for the new streetcars. So we're going over to Mark for a question from this quadrant, and then we're going to have you, Mark, come up, and one of the blue cards will be read off. So, Mark.
Hello. I'm actually standing up, and I feel somewhat embarrassed to complain because I'm blessed to be healthier than a lot of people here. Now, I'm one of the walking wounded. I look pretty good, don't I? Now, I happen to have Parkinson's disease, very poor sense of balance. And ever since children have been free on the TTC, I can't remember ever getting a seat. Now, I love children like everybody else. I was wondering, also, there's the ongoing problem when there are air conditioners on the roofs on the ceiling of the new streetcars, and there's a large area where there's absolutely nothing to hold on to. And I know the TTC are aware of this, and they say they're addressing it, but addressing it 3 years later seems a bit much. The improvements they made don't really help. They're just cosmetic. The last thing, I don't know if people like me could be issued some sort of a badge or something to say sort of disability needs seat car, because I feel embarrassed asking even children to get out of a seat. Okay? And the other thing is that like the people here, like I represent actually a much bigger number than the people here, because, like as I said, we're the walking wounded. We look pretty good, but we have problems. And I really, when you advantage a group like the children, you disadvantage somebody else, and you're disadvantaging the disabled and the seniors. So, incidentally, where you come from, Mr. Byford, you understand the seniors happen to be pretty well free on the transit, and the children pay. As regards Sweden, you get things for free, but you pay 70–80% on income tax. But you do have beautiful girls in Sweden. One of them is my wife. Thanks.
Thank you for that. And Mark will come up, and Susan has one of the assistance cards questions that she'd like to read off.
Before we go to the cards, Andy, someone didn't hear what you said about Warden Station.
Someone what, sorry?
Wants to know what you said about Warden Station.
A little bit more clarity on Warden.
Sure. Okay, so Warden Station, For those of you who don't know it, Warden Station has the high, so you come off the subway, you go up to the mezzanine where people come in, but then to get into the bus bays, you go along a corridor from which there are a series of stairways down to individual bus bays. So, so of course it's completely inaccessible. So the existing design, the only way you could make Warden accessible would be to put an elevator down to each of those individual bus bays. Now that would be stupidly expensive. My fear would be that you would end up with elevators not out of service, in which case that bus bay is immediately inaccessible. So what we want to do is completely change the design of Warden so that you effectively have a situation or a design like it is Victoria Park, like Victoria Park, where we put down a couple of elevators to a flat level concourse from which all of the bus bays can be accessed. So that way you only need to have a couple of elevators, not individual ones. Now that is a fundamental rebuild of the station, but what it will end up with is a brand new, fit for purpose, fully accessible, easy to navigate, modern interchange between subway and bus. So that's what we want to do. That's why it's one of the more complicated ones. That's why it's towards the end of the program, and that's why it costs so much. But the other point I was making in response to the gentleman is, you said that, well, maybe we could do curb cuts to at least make lateral movement across the bus bays possible. The trouble is you can't get down to them in the first place, and I would have a concern that we'd be introducing a big safety risk. We'll have a look at it. Being honest with you, I don't think it would be practical.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for that clarity on Warden. So next we have one of the assistance cards. Susan has that.
So in addition to the cards, I'm monitoring the hashtag TTC Access on Twitter, and I'm getting questions emailed through our live streaming. So I'm trying to group them.
Okay.
I'm just going to give a couple of compliments that we got, because why not? Someone says that all drivers are very courteous and friendly and all are to be complimented, and someone else said that they think that the new station managers are fantastic. The questions I'm going to raise now are, I've had a couple of questions about cognitive impairments. What is the TTC doing to make the system cognitively accessible, and what is TTC doing for individuals with mental health disorders such as autism who can't take regular transit?
Good questions. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go back to Jane at the back. I think there are some questions back there with Jane.
Yeah. Hello, good evening. My name, well, people call me Abby. All my friends call me Abby. I wanted to congratulate you and thank you so much to all the people who make the TTC for having this venue. And the thing that I wanted to let you guys know that in the 30 plus years that I've been writing the TTC, I could see and I feel that people, the younger generations, do not care, not love the TTC. But to my saddest disappointment is that I wrote so many letters that it is not even funny. I never received a response from anybody from the TTC. Even I spoke with a few people that are station managers about what should we do to promote TTC love, especially from the younger generations, because people don't care, you know, they don't take ownership. If you don't love and respect something or somebody, or in this case TTC, you don't take ownership. I mentioned a number of proposals or things about TTC, like do car wash or buses wash or something. And then the people that I spoke, they said, oh, but the people from the TTC, for the employees, the company, the representatives for the employees, they will be after TTC life and managers. All we need to do is have some high school students do some kind of volunteer and things for TTCs in order to promote not only respect, love, but also to keep it cleaner off from the gums and all kinds of garbage and things like that. I have so many examples of how horrible it could be that you go and sit on a Sunday and then lo and behold you miss the service to go to church because you have to go and change, and suddenly you look at the back and it's a horrible scene. And I mean, the graffiti, the things, it's endless. And also I believe that TTC could make some money if they see people smoking inside buses, also spilling and doing all kinds of nonsense inside the TTC property. And I had a couple of asthma attacks inside TTC property because people are smoking inside the buses, inside the subways, and inside the TTC property. And people don't get fined. People don't it seems that they can get away with murder. That's why they keep doing this kind of a nonsense at the expense of other people, even of my own life. And the second point that I wanted to raise, or third I must say, is the issue of communication. Many people, they brag, Canada has 250 plus cultures and languages and dialects and blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to practicality, it's a bravado, well, Canada is an English-speaking country. Yes. It is an English-speaking country. God bless us for that. However, we have millions of, not necessarily refugees, but new Canadians, such as myself, that speak languages other than English. You know, myself, I speak Italian, I speak Portuguese, I speak a number of languages. So we need help for other people, especially for the senior citizens, that they are not fluent in English. We at least need 10 basic languages, which are the highest majority, which is Italian, Portuguese, Hindi, Chinese, Spanish, the highest. I don't see that help in the with the collectors and a couple of other people. So I personally believe that we are drowning right beside the fountain.
Wrap up, please.
Okay. So thank you. God bless.
And I encourage you to spend some time. The senior staff from TTC will be here after the close of the event at 9. And if you want to spend some more time chatting with them, you have some great ideas there and discussion. So senior staff will be here after 9 if you want to have more one-on-one conversations with them. So continuing on, let's move back to Sarah. Sarah's got a question there. Question, comment. And I remind you, if you can keep your comments brief to 2 minutes, that would be great so we can hear from more people.
Okay, good evening everyone. My name is Rosina Somji. I am coming from Ismaili community, and I would like to thank on behalf of our community for that excellent service you are providing. And somebody said about the drivers that they are doing a good job. And we have a system going in our community where the clients, they come in, we take the name is there, we take their timing. So this way the right person is going when the driver is here. And this system we have been going on for a while. I am here and I am in that system. I would like to give my time to any other communities doing that same service. This way the right person is going home. We are not consuming so much time, and the driver is happy when they see we are bringing the client right at the door. So this is the main thing. And since I came back here and I heard about Sue, it's a humble request if you can show us the picture for Sue, and if possible a minute of silence for that lady. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, and we'll make sure that that's recorded, and we'll take that under advisement. So the next is Stephen. Stephen in the back. Has somebody back here in the back corner?
Hello. Hi. I was genuinely surprised when Mr. Upfold had mentioned that the trains were being lowered to account for the distance between the platform and the train. On July 2nd of this year, at about 12:30 in the morning on my way home from work, I and another person lifted the front casters of a wheelchair out of that gap at Union Station. About 2 days later, my brother and father did it again. They lifted someone else's wheelchair out of that gap at St. Clair Station. I would really like to know what is happening with regards to that. It is quite a scary thing to witness, and I can't imagine what it would be like to be in that chair. The second part to that question, if you would indulge me, is that report was filed on July 3rd, and then a couple of times a week I would mention to TTC Helps on Twitter that I have not heard anything. It's now September the 16th, and only today did someone leave me a message saying that they'd like to talk to me about what I saw that night at Union Station. So I'm genuinely surprised that this is something that you guys have known about. It's taken 2 months for anyone to get back to me, and I don't see anything that suggests it's getting better.
Okay, they've copied that down, and we'll hear a response from that in a minute. Sharon, there are lots of hands up in this front corner, so.
Yes, it feels like you've been passing this quadrant for the whole evening.
Can you speak up a little bit?
I said it feels like you were passing this quadrant for the whole evening.
Oh, no.
I kept counting 5 questions.
Yes.
Anyway, that's not why I'm talking, and I'm taking that off my time. I would like to really say I'm grateful for the service. It's a wonderful service, and I'm really happy with many of the drivers, etc., who support us as we try to get around the city. I would like it, the way how you have put an enhanced emphasis on the seats and the courtesy area, if you could do something about the elevators, because people rush onto the elevators, run to get to them, and go upstairs and leave people in wheelchairs and scooters down on the platform. So that would be awesome. I wonder too if there could be some kind of elevator cleaning schedule with a sign off so that we know the elevators actually do get cleaned, because they don't look that way and they don't smell that way sometimes. Breakdown announcements I think are really awesome. For instance, I called in twice just last week for rides that were late 40 minutes. And I was told that, oh, your ride broke down, we're sending somebody else. So I could make an alternative choice if I know that that bus isn't coming in the summertime, because I can scoot to the subway. But in the wintertime, that's not possible because the batteries don't work in the cold. Also, in the Pan Am Games, the services were really awesome. Like, I don't know what you did to make sure that when you call, you can actually speak to somebody on both lines, but that was like awesome. And then I got spoiled, and I'm like, hey, what is this waiting business? So that's where I am right now. If it was something that you did to kind of focus on getting people to a certain place, getting people to work and doctor's appointments would really benefit from that. And then this is my desire, which I know might be an impossibility, but you have to put it out there. Those minutes that I wait, I heard someone talk about it before, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 30 minutes. We should be able to bank them and use them when we need an extra 2 minutes for someone to pick us up.
Okay, thank you. So I see lots of hands up, but we are about quarter after, so we're doing well as long as we can keep our comments brief, and that's why we have the 2-minute clock. We're going over to Mary next.
Okay. Hi. I want to find out, like you guys say that 2025 is all the elevators, right? Why can't we get the elevators in Hyde Park right away? Because nobody uses those back steps on Park Avenue, I think it is. And why can't we get it? Because there's a lot of disabilities. There's a lot of, old age, right? Seniors that can't take those long steps. And half of the time, the escalator's out. And there's a lot of people like ourselves in disability. So why can't we get that right away?
We'll get back to with the comments from this panel in a minute, but the comment is the questions about High Park elevator. So over here to Mark.
Now?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're next. Yep.
Yeah, okay. There's a whole lot of things I can think of that need improvement in my imagination or my experience. And there's other things I've heard here that I know nothing about but can appreciate. There's one thing, however, above everything else that I can't live with, and it's been said here tonight already, which is the element of the public, and we're hearing about public education as if that will make a difference in this. And I'm going to try and point out that I don't think it will, because there's a certain segment of the population that are going to be rude to the disabled in wanting to use the elevators. Like, they're going to prefer themselves. They're just selfish or whatever. And they feel it's their distinct right, and it is their right to use the elevators because the TTC has made it that way. In the name of appearances, okay? In the name of non-discrimination, okay? There's a gentleman right here, Andy, okay? He's got his hand, raise your hand, Andy. Okay, him and I were on an elevator the other day, that's how we met. And at the CNE days, when it was open. And there were three of us with the chairs on the elevator. And we were all set and ready to go. There was this guy in front of us, so he got on first anyway. Long story short, he tried to wiggle in between us, and he held the whole thing up, and I will admit, I had to yell to get him off. And I think you said he got chased to the police or something in that situation. But I would pay money out of pocket to have some sort of a membership that, like the Wheel-Trans system, where you have a Wheel-Trans membership. And I would pay money out of pocket, but then an even better idea is, if you got a worse problem than I do, or you say you do, you got arthritis, this or that or whatever, or maybe you really don't have much of a problem, why not get those people to pay instead of me? Because it's obvious that I do. And he can only echo my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. We've got that recorded, and back to the back corner with Jane.
Hi, my name is Phyllis, and as of November, I've been using Wheel-Trans for 2 years. First of all, I want to thank you for having the public forum. I think it's really interesting to see people in real life that I see on TV. I want to reiterate about the drivers. Most of the drivers are fantastic and very courteous and helpful, and when one is not, I'm actually quite surprised. I want to talk about the taxis. The city has asked that all taxis in the city be accessible by a certain time, and so as a result, many of the taxi companies, 99% of my rides, because I have a folding walker, and people with canes are riding in sedan taxis that are truly sedans. I have noticed the new vans where you do have to step up, but the argument is that all taxis have to be accessible, and not all taxis do have to be accessible. And Councillor Shelley Carroll is in the audience, and I know that I have tried to phone my councillor about this. If you have a cane or a folding walker, you do not need a van. You can get into a taxi. In fact, there's often 3 people in the cab, some with canes, some with walkers, maybe an escort. And so everybody doesn't have to have, every cab company or private owner of a cab does not have to have a van. So that's a little aside. But the vans that do exist, that do not have a ramp, are a problem. And I can step up, but I need help and often have to be kind of pushed from behind. The 30-minute wait time has been mentioned. What I have found is I wait the 30 minutes and I phone, and the usual response is we'll check where the person is, and they will often say, I would think, pretty well, first of all, it's rare, and second of all, they say, well, they're just over, let's say, at Spadina, they'll be there in 2 minutes, and they are. But it seems like a long time, because sometimes the 5 minutes, because I've been in a cab where the 5 minutes isn't really 5 minutes, and the driver will say, we got to go because I'm already behind. So I do feel that that's a long one. I have only one question. These have all been comments, and my question is that we've talked about the children on the buses, And now that the children are free, I think there's a place for education in the school system by the TTC about riding on the TTC. And if they're under 12, that means somewhere in grade 4, 5, and 6, those children are old enough to understand, and perhaps some ambassador work within the school system would be great. And I come from the school system, and I think that there would be a lot of reception towards that. Here's your privilege, you can ride free. Chances are you may find it interesting to know that there are some kind of manners that go along with that.
Thank you. Excellent comments and a great question that the panel is listening. We're moving over to Sarah and then back at the middle. Sarah, do you have a question back there? Nobody back that way? Let's go to this lady in the blue here, Sarah. Is she coming? The lady with the blue, she's coming to you? There she.
Hi, my name is Jeanette Finley, and I just started using Wheel-Trans. I don't have any complaints. The only thing that I have as a complaint is the online trip planner. At present, you can only book one trip at a time. It does have a regular route or an occasional round trip, but it will not allow you to do the round trip online. And I use the online system quite a bit, and I don't have any trouble with any of the drivers. They're doing a great job.
Thank you. Nice to hear some compliments. Moving back to Stephen in the back corner.
Yes, hi. I have an issue with the buses. I understand that there's supposed to sort of be a rule where wheelchairs are put on first and then the passengers. But there's a particular route, Route 95, that I have a continual problem with. I've been left out in the rain, the freezing cold, the hot summer days. The drivers will say, oh, I can't get you on, and there is enough room, and maybe 2 people may have to get off the bus so I could get on. So they'll tell me they can't get me on, but then proceed to let everybody behind me onto the bus and pack the bus and drive away and leave me sitting there. I've complained numerous times, and the issue goes on and on and on, and I use it regularly, and it's still an ongoing problem.
Okay, thank you for that comment. These are all very useful, and I must remind you, we may not get to everybody's questions with hands in the air, so there is the blue card for providing your comment or question, and there is also the questionnaire if we don't get to you by 9 o'clock. So we're coming up to Sharon at the front here.
Hi. Okay, so I noticed that the question regarding visual accessibility got ignored. I also asked a similar question regarding visual accessibility 2 years ago, and that was also ignored. So I'm wondering if you could comment now on what you're doing to make the auditory announcements that many of us can hear on the subways regarding delays, route changes, etc., accessible for the deaf and hard of hearing.
Thank you. Great comment. To Mary here in the middle.
Hi, my name is Andy.
Hi, Andy.
I have a problem with some of your drivers, same as some of the comments that we already heard.
Yeah.
The other day, I had to wait for 6 buses to get on. I was at Eglinton and Bushmount with my friend who also is in a wheelchair. The bus drivers, they don't take the time to tell the passengers to move right to the back, and they just say, oh, the bus is full, sorry, or the ramp is not working, and they won't even try to lower the ramp. They just say, oh, the ramp don't work. That's not right. Like, I had to wait for 6 buses to go from Bushmount to go to Kennedy, which is a 5-minute drive.
That's not very good, is it? Well, their senior staff are hearing and listening to this, and they'll look into that. Moving over to Mark, over here.
Hi, my name is Renee, and I take Wheel-Trans partly because I had an accident on the TTC in 2010, and partly because I've been repeatedly assaulted on the regular transit. And the regular transit is not responding appropriately to assaults on people with disabilities. Every single time that I have been assaulted on the TTC, they've let the person go before the police even arrived. Except one incident. In one incident, I was arrested. And it cost me $5,000 to prove that I was innocent. I was assaulted on the TTC. I had a bottle of pop thrown on me, and the person was a drug addict who was pregnant, who was trying to get into a fight with somebody. She accused me of hitting her in the stomach with my cane. I lost my cane. I lost my work, and it took me a long time to get over the post-traumatic stress disorder that I have from that. I can't go on the regular transit anymore unless I'm accompanied by my boyfriend. It is not safe. So I completely disagree with this gentleman who's saying that education is not important for the public, because it's absolutely bloody critical for the safety of people with disabilities traveling on the regular transit. I live at an accessible station, and I should be able to get on that subway and go to another accessible station, but I can't, because A, it's overcrowded. B, the elevators are constantly broken down, and escalators only go down and up into a subway station and not the other way. And there's so many things that the TTC could be doing to make it easier for with disability who has a cane to be able to get around the city, and consistently these things are ignored. I've gone through every single level of customer service in the regular TTC as well as in Wheel-Trans to get changes made, and I have made changes. I think most people that are sitting at that table have probably heard my name. It's Renee Knight. So you're going to hear it again and again and again until it starts to get safe for people with disabilities on the transit. These issues cannot continue to be ignored.
Thank you for telling us your story, and sorry to hear that. And it's an important story to tell in the educational component. Yes, so we're going to go back to Jane at the back, please. I can't hear you. What did you say? No, we're coming around the room. We're going equally around the room in a fair way. So I remind you that we should keep the comments to 2 minutes. That's why we have the countdown clock. So let's move back to Jane at the back, and we're coming over to you next.
Hi, Jim.
We're being fair. We're going around the room.
Hi.
We are going around the room. So back to Jane at the back here.
How are you? I do take TTC all the time with my dad on weekends. And I find out that no tie downs on streetcars or trains. I think that's more important than anything else right now. And more streetcars to make sure everything is accessible, wheelchair accessible. And I had seen that so many years. And so many years I had seen that over the years that people are complaining about subways. The subways have to be clean and shining and neatly clean so nothing is on the ground. I had seen that for so many years. I take road trains. I think people, like some people argue on road trains. Some people argue on TTC. They don't want to get this wheelchair spot up for people in a wheelchair. I think that's more important than anything else out there. And the new wheelchair buses that you have coming don't have enough room for wheelchairs. I think they need to go bigger on wheelchair buses, because more chairs are more important that take wheelchairs all the time. And I do too. I think everybody deserves the right to go on wheelchairs and get rid of those cabs and minivans, because the people that I see in walkers they can't get up those steps in minivans. I see that a lot. I know people out there that have walkers and electric wheelchairs and manual wheelchairs. I've seen them, and I think they need to get more wheelchair buses out there in 2016. I'd like to see that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to jump over Sarah. I know there's a lot of hands over here, so we're going to come to a few questions over here. So Stephen first, and then Sharon, and we'll go back and forth here, because I hear you that there's lots of hands and questions here. So Stephen?
Me? Okay, here. Hi, my name is David Lepovsky. I've got 3 quick points I'd like to make. The first is that when I won my case forcing TTC to hold these forums in the first place as a result of their failure to announce route stops until they were forced to, the Human Rights Tribunal ordered that all the commissioners of the TTC come to hear from people with disabilities. Subsequently, when that order has been spent, and these are done under a provincial regulation now, in past year, as I understand it, the TTC has not had all commissioners, just some. I'd like to know if all the commissioners are here. If not, why not? And will the TTC assure that next time these good people come to tell you about their experience, all the people we pay to govern the TTC will actually be there to listen to them? The second point I want to make is we heard in one of the presentations from TTC that you've taken measures to ensure that the new the new subway cars, which should never have been deployed in the first place, have been adjusted, or the platforms have been adjusted, one or the other, because they didn't match up in a number of stations, presenting a safety risk to people in wheelchairs. Well, then we hear from the audience here that someone observed a safety risk from that very problem. So the question is, when will that problem be fixed, and will the TTC ensure that it will not deploy any new subway cars until they are safe not only for people without disabilities, but for people with disabilities too? My third and final question is, last year Mr. Byford commendably announced that he spent a day in a wheelchair and got a round of applause for it. I challenged him at that time to spend a day with me under blindfold. I'm still waiting. I make the offer again. How about it? Thank you very much.
Thank you. So Sharon, we're going to go to a couple of questions here, so let's get a couple in up here.
My name is Kokila. I'm last 7-8 years I'm taking the Wheeltrans. It's excellent service. I have never ever trouble with this. Only we have trouble sometime to the Wheeltrans we taking and the taxi coming, 3 people in a front seat. It is very difficult and they are fighting. They said, I am sitting, I am sitting, I am sitting. So it's only world choosers. The driver said, okay, I go sitting in the back and you guys driving. You know. So it's when they're booking, please make sure there's a one front seat is a one front seat, not 3 people in a front seat. Okay. Thank you very much, because the service is excellent, very nice.
Thank you.
And by number 12 bus to go to the Victoria and Kennedy station, it is very, very bad service they have. 30 minutes, 40 minutes, sometimes we are waiting. And there's the bus is only worst bus we have. So they increased for the number 12B and 12A, please. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to another question here, and then we should hear back from the panel. So another question in this section.
Hi, my name is Hyacinth Huron, and I've been taking Wheeltrans since 2011. Now, I must commend Wheeltrans for the cut down time, the cut down wait time for someone to pick up the phone and answer when you call to book your ride. Today, the phone didn't even ring, and someone answered the phone. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Maybe one more quick question or comment, and then we'll come back to the panel. There's lots of hands up here.
I was raising my hand for myself and for Sitara. Okay. So if you don't mind, I'll give it first to Sitara and then
That's great. We work together.
Excuse me. Hi, how are you?
First of all, I want to say thank you for your giving me this opportunity. And second of all, I want to know if you can do something about MetroPass price. I use post-secondary MetroPass. It cost me $112. It is very difficult for a student who is under ODSP and OSAP too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I also wanted to thank you for the incredible success and improvement I have seen on Wheel-Trans. I have been there for years. My situation is, my church is in Markham and I live in East York. My church is a very essential part of my life. Without my church, I cannot function. To be able to book the connection, the in-between place is very, very bad. It's not for a lady to be in. The second part, I wouldn't know how to do the connection in the first place. So I would ask if someone can help us to make a connection between Markham and East York. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's time just to hear back from the panel on some of the things that we've heard here in comments and questions. So it's time for the panel just to speak up.
So I'll perhaps make a start. There we go. So just to remind everybody that all of the answers, in addition to answering the few questions we're able to comment here, all of these answers will be online and will be addressed fully in a report that we work up with ACAT. The things that I heard certainly was around accessible streetcars and how we can let people know where they are. And just to remind everybody that on Next Bus, we do show where the accessible vehicles are, so you can be assured when you're going to get one and how long the next accessible vehicle is. The priorities for accessible stations, how we set those, and it's obvious that everybody would like, and we would like all stations to be accessible as fast as they can. We do have to set priorities on which ones we do first. We do that dependent upon data and our understanding of how people travel. We do it based upon the constructability, i.e. how difficult it might be and how expensive it is to make a station accessible. And we also do that in partnership with ACAT, actually. ACAT, your representatives, help us to decide what order we should be making stations accessible in. I heard an awful lot actually around the step and gap between the train and the platform, and I addressed that earlier in my presentation. It is a difficult thing on subways around the world to address that problem. It isn't so much that we bought the wrong trains. Any trains that we would have bought takes, number one, time to get used to those trains, time to adjust them for every one of our stations, because our platforms are different height right across the network. So that if you make them the right height for one kind of train, for one station, you may make them the wrong height for another one. That's something that we're working on, and Eglinton is an example where we've made some physical changes to the platform to improve that. Even more challenging, however, is the gap between the train and the platform. Some of our platforms, and one that was mentioned is St. Clair West, those platforms are curved. And because our trains are straight, depending on where you are on that train, there is a bigger or smaller gap between the train and the platform. That is not an easy solution. There is no easy solution for those sorts of things. We have been working with ACAT over the years to attempt to come up with some sort of a solution. It is a problem at very individual portions of our station, and we're working on ways, at the very least, to help our customers understand where the best spot to get on and off a train is. I'm maybe going to let Eve answer a little bit on some of the Wheel-Trans, the trip booking issues, and certainly it's nice to hear that people have noticed the efforts we've put into our reservation system so that people can get through, but perhaps on some of the issues that we've heard today on Wheel-Trans specific service.
Pull the mic close, Eve.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, I'll first of all talk to the new vehicle questions about the step up. We have been taking all of our customer comments. We certainly get them directly, and we've been directing them to the city as well, the Municipal Licensing Standards Group, and we will continue to do that, is that we do pass on the comments that it is difficult for you to step into the vehicle. A question about the community buses. There has been no mention of those. As part of the 10-year Wheel-Trans strategy, we are looking at all forms as we introduce a family of services concept for Wheel-Trans, and the community bus is part of that. So there's going to be no change for the current time being, but we will be looking at how we change and improve and certainly make use of this valuable service. And then the reduction in call times, I'm thrilled to see that you've noticed that. The additional 6 reservationists have directly contributed to that, and we work to hire those staff, and we continue to work with other methods for reducing call times. So I'm pleased that you're actually noticing those effects. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris and Eve. I think it's about 10 minutes left for questions, so if you can be brief with your question or comment. Let's go back to Stephen and then Mary. Stephen first, then Mary. Stephen has somebody at the back here? Yes.
Hi, my name's Laura Beard, and I'm calling about the wait times. And when Wheel-Trans doesn't show up, and we have no way of knowing if they're coming if you can't get through on the phone. They have this new AVL system, which is on all of the vehicles. The drivers could indeed have our phone numbers and call through that system to the client and let them know that there would be a delay and that indeed somebody was coming. And if it's a problem with them thinking that the drivers would call us, well, it's on their computer system, so that wouldn't be a difficult thing. That's what I'd like to say.
Thank you so much. Great if you could be brief with your comments so that we can get more in. So next to Mary. And then we'll come up
Good evening, and really quick. Thank you, Executive, for the scorecards that you've been posting. I really hope, though, that you expand on the scorecards on the Wheel-Trans section. Also, too, that you go the next step, and let's go to Six Sigma. Let's correct these problems and reduce the cost.
Thank you.
And one quick, I'm really ashamed of the Executive for one thing, for not standing up for this courtesy issue, for an assault issue, and for the latest article in the Toronto Star about the elevator and the disabled. I would really hope the Executive stands up to this issue and prints something.
That's why we're here. They're getting your comments across, and they're hearing you. So we're going to come up to Susan. She's been monitoring the Twitter, the hashtag TTC Access from the people who are watching online at home live stream. So do you have a few comments and questions from Twitter?
So I have a few questions about basic accessibility issues. One is that subway train employees should give more time to get on and off the trains because wheelchairs don't have enough time to exit or enter. The same person talked about elevator buttons have to be pushed very hard to work buttons. The buttons should be easier to use. In a similar vein, the button on the lower part of the second door of the new streetcars that let the driver know to put the ramp out, it can be difficult to reach for people who need to reach them. And then somebody asked about when you check for ramp failures before buses leave garages, do you also check stop announcements and signs to make sure that they're also working? Is there a way for bus and streetcar drivers to be automatically notified when stop announcements are malfunctioning? Somebody asked a question that I think is about Presto. They heard the TTC is getting rid of tickets and tokens, and her concern is if we have to buy a pass, we might not have a need for a lot of rides per month. Will the pass be usable any month as long as rides exist on it to use? I can answer that. Yes. Presto is not a pass the way a Metro pass is. It's not limited to dates.
Thank you, Susan.
And
one more quick one, and then we get back to the room here.
One more about Wheel-Trans. Is the driver who's assigned to pick you up not required to wait sometime if he or she does not find you when he arrives? If so, how long?
Okay. The gentleman's been patient in the front here. Mark, if you can go to this gentleman, and then we'll go back to Jane if there's any in the back corner, and then we'll come back over to you again. Don't worry, we're coming back.
Hi. My name is Kylie. I'm wondering when all the elevators will be available for all TTC. I'm just wondering when they'll all be accessible.
When will all elevators be accessible? That's a good question. Great. Was there one at the back with Jane? Yes, Jane has a question.
Hi. I just want to thank the TTC. I've been using TTC for 30 years now, and I have seen the changes it has gone through. And I have no complaint because I am very satisfied with the TTC system. And the elevator they put it and the new road they made, I think is very acceptable. I live on Jane and St. Clair, and I see the changes there. You have put the 2 elevators there, and also the escalator where we can go up and down, which were not there before. So thank you so much for the thing.
Thank you for that comment. Sarah, is there any there, or we can skip over to this side? Okay, let's go over to this side. Gentleman here, go ahead with your comment or question.
My name is Mahbub. I have been using Wheel-Trans since last year. Most of the drivers I have found are good, courteous and very considerate and helpful. This is a great service. If it was not there, I do not know how people like me would go around. It is a fantastic service, and we must appreciate it, though there are some flaws which would be removed sooner or later. Congratulations.
Thank you. Sharon, do you have someone else up here with a comment, question? There we go.
Hello, Mr. Byfield. Mr. Byfield, this is Rule Byford. Okay, Byford. Okay, you know that China is circling Bombardier to take over. Are you sure this will not happen? It's been in the papers. It's been in the papers. China wants to take over Bombardier.
If I might just answer that question, I have learned in this job and in life not to believe everything I read in the papers.
You know how powerful China is, right?
Solid advice.
Another thing is, thanks to Wheel-Trans, I do thank the drivers and I thank the service. I mean, to be picked up and dropped off when you're sick is something that everybody should be happy about. We have problems with the trains are not cleaned properly, but you should get them cleaned and get their Wheel-Trans cleaned too. That's it.
Clean subways and Wheel-Trans. I think Mary has a question here. Question, comment?
My name is Paulette Walcott. I travel on the TTC bus. I'm a disabled person. Recently, I've been stressed out because I've been abused so much on the TTC bus. Whenever I goes on the bus and the driver stop the bus for me to go on, people rush the bus, they get in the bus. When I come for my time to come in, they sit in the disabled seat and the driver asks them nicely, please, if they could get up. Some of them don't want to come up and it's causing a lot of problem. And if they do get up, they pass a lot of remarks against me. And I am kind of get tired of it now. I know the driver, them are good drivers, so could TTC please tell the driver them to let the Wheel-Trans on first before they let the passenger on, and then this way I won't have to subject myself to the abuse that I've been going through. And another thing I have to say, at Kennedy Subway, the RT elevated that from the bottom to up to the RT. I stayed on there the other night 4 times. The elevator comes and I cannot go on it. People who can walk, they rush the elevator and I'm standing there. And I don't think that is fair. It's for babies and disabled people. They can take the escalator and go per top. They can walk. I cannot. And it's kind of hard for me to do that, you know. And the lift and the bus. 2 days ago, I was at Warden and Eglinton East. And the bus driver, they tried their best. 3 buses came and I couldn't go on the bus. The lift wouldn't lift up. The driver, they tried their best. And I have to say, driver, go. And I have to end up driving to him the night. Because I couldn't get on the bus. You know, the lift there doesn't work. So I'm asking TTC. I know the drivers, them are good. And I thank them very much, especially the wheel-trans driver. They are good drivers, and there are some good drivers on TTC bus too. And I know TTC is doing the best to try to help us disabled people. And I'm grateful for that.
Thank you. Mark, I have a question here.
Hi. Oh my God, I feel like I won the lottery just getting the microphone. Okay, my name is Maya Ziv, and I'm the founder of Access Now, which shares accessibility information in Toronto and around the world. And first of all, I just wanted to say thank you to Wheel-Trans for the amazing support that they've given my life to continue to be independent the way that I'd like to be. So thank you for that. I just had a question in terms of the future and the plans for Wheel-Trans. Are there any plans to introduce a digital tool that would allow for better flexibility in scheduling trips, in changing trip plans, in being notified if Wheel-Trans drivers are late or if they are not coming beyond, you know, because right now I've missed so many Post-it notes when I've missed a ride that I don't know where to look for the Post-it notes. Anyway, Post-it notes aside, I just would like to know if there are any plans for a tool like this, and if not, if we could maybe connect and talk about that. Okay, thank you.
We hear you. Let's come over here. Sharon, there's a gentleman right there.
As Thomas George, I would like to congratulate all those who are responsible for Wheel-Trans. And it is a great service, a service which makes Canada what it is. And a few months ago, Wheel-Trans held a meeting, People in Motion. And as a fisheries scientist, I was very excited to see some fishing boats. And so I approached the guy, and believe it or not, we ended up with having a video, half an hour, interviewed by telephone on tilapia, the miracle fish. Tilapia is a fish which we introduced in Canada in 1995. And I wanted to share this video with Wheel-Trans as a good result of their work. So I sent it to Wheel-Trans service, customer service. But they replied that, oh, we are allowed to view these, videos, but I believe Wheel-Trans should promote something like this so that people will know their effort and what's the outcome of their meetings. Thank you very much.
Mayor, you have one here?
Yeah. I want to say, I want people to help me find a good job to go to, so I can get help for a job to work. So I want to get more help I can get.
Okay, thank you. Help with the job. We have time for one more, and then we have to hear back from the panel. We'll have some panel, and we'll have some closing remarks from the Chief Executive Officer. So over here, Sharon, you have one more, and then we'll go back to the panel for what we've heard and close out with closing remarks. Go ahead.
I got two questions.
Okay.
One, my wife and I travel we live in East York, and we travel the Coxwell bus, the 22. On the weekends, it loops at Bingham Loop. Now, the streetcar and bus stop for the Coxwell bus is in the loop, as far as we know, is not accessible. So when it comes to accessible lines like that one and loops, how do we know if they are accessible? Is there any way that something like that can be fixed? The other thing is, through her mobility instructor, she was told to board subway trains by the guard car. Now on the Bloor Danforth line, she waits in DWA. Where the DWA is where the guard car pulls up. But on your University Spadina line with your new trains, the Toronto Rockets, the guard car is the very last car. And there might be some sort of safety concern here, is if the guard is in the very back car, how's he going to see somebody like my lovely wife trying to get on at the DWA with all the other people in the way? Is there any way that that can be fixed?
Thank you for that. It's now time to turn it back over to the panel, and I believe Mitch Stambler, the TTC Head of Strategy and Service Planning, is going to have a few remarks about some of the comments and questions made tonight. So Mitch, over to you.
Thanks, Jim. You know, we spend a lot of our time and effort and discussion tonight focusing on physical changes to the system and investments in infrastructure, all of which are important, but they take time and they take a lot of money, and that's a challenge for us. One of the interesting themes that I noticed coming through in the comments, at least in the notes that I made, was about communications, more effective communications, which of course is not a capital or cost-intensive thing. Just a quick rundown of things I noted that we will take away from tonight's session and work on internally. People mentioned that we should communicate better to customers, that spaces designated for people in need should indeed be reserved or should be given over to them. So while we've already had a communication program to that effect, we will review and see how we can do even better. There were comments that perhaps the new announcements about door opening on the subway may not be as clear as possible. We'll look at that. We were asked to see if there's a way to provide better information about which elevators are working or not, and we do have a project underway to assemble real-time information and to display that on our station information screens. That's a project that will be coming up next year. We had comments that people without disabilities sometimes take up the space in our elevators and thus sort of push or preclude people using mobility devices from using them. So that's another area of communication with customers that we will work on. There were comments that we should speak perhaps with schools, because kids are now using the system more as a result of the free fare, and that's something we'll look at. And then there were some communication messages in terms of internal with our own staff, and they included that we have to ensure our guards on subways are watching carefully for any mobility device which might have trouble boarding, and we'll do that. That we need to ensure that our operators understand and communicate that wheelchairs and mobility devices should be allowed onto vehicles before other customers, and that's something we'll take away. And that our operators should reinforce the notion that customers should move to the back and make more room for mobility devices. We will focus as well on that, and that perhaps we need to allow more time to have mobility devices board and alight from vehicles, and we'll do that. So a lot of these things, they're not capital or cost intensive. They require better communication efforts both within our organization and with customers, and we will work on that. Earlier, Chris mentioned all of the things we're doing to make our system more accessible, the fact that our bus fleet is all accessible, our streetcar fleet is becoming more accessible, our subway fleet is, and so on. Just a couple of things I'd add to that. We have a project underway that will really gain momentum next year to make more and more of our bus and streetcar on-street stops accessible. And that's an important thing to continue to make the system really usable by everybody. Next year and this year and next year we're going to put much more focus on integration between conventional services and Wheel-Trans, so that Wheel-Trans customers who are able to make use of the conventional system will be able to do so more readily. And so that's something to look for over the next coming year. As Andy said, collectively, everybody at the TTC is working very hard to make the system accessible in a way that many other systems around the world can never be. So, to use a phrase that you've heard many times, we are working to make our system accessible in a way that will make Toronto proud. The last thing I want to say, Andy, is I want everybody to appreciate how incredibly hardworking and incredibly valuable our advisory committee on accessible transportation is. This is a group of people who give of their own time and effort with incredible dedication, incredible sensitivity to the very specialized needs of people with disabilities. They help us staff understand the real nuances of making the system customer friendly for people with disabilities. So I would like to personally thank our ACAT members for the incredible work they do to make all this happen.
Thank you, Mitch. So I'd like to just turn it over to Mazen. Do you want to respond to that? Or?
Sure. Thank you very much, Mitch. I'm glad somebody finally do acknowledge the work that ACAT are doing. I'd just like to remind people that 20 years or more, there was no accessible subway stations. Buses, the city buses, were not accessible. Wheel-Trans, you have to book it 4 days in advance and so on. So we are getting there. We are doing a lot of work with the help of yourself to be an advocate and fight for our rights. TTC is a public transit. We're getting there. We are accomplished a lot. 100% buses accessible. Every new bus will be accessible. Every new streetcar will be accessible. Every new subway station. Look at Shepherd. We are learning from the existing system, such as the Shepherd, for example. There is no gap problem because we addressed it at the beginning, and so on. So we promise you we are working, we're doing our best, and we have great management and staff who are listening, and sometimes they don't listen, so we repeat, and we accomplishing. So I really thank you. With your help, that we will accomplish 100% fully accessible system in the City of Toronto. And thank you.
Thank you, Mazen. And I'll now turn it over to Andy Byford, the Chief Executive Officer, for closing remarks. He gets the last word.
Okay. All right. Well, look, thank you, Jim. I have to say, I think tonight's been a fantastic evening. This is my fourth accessibility forum. I've never missed one. My colleagues regularly attend these. We find these incredibly valuable. So I can guarantee you, as long as I'm doing this job, we will always, every year, have an accessibility forum. I think it's been absolutely. It is a highly useful, informative evening. It gives us really food for thought. What I'd say is, I think tonight there's been really good feedback. What is encouraging for me is that there's been a lot of positive feedback, that you are noticing some differences. You know, we're not perfect. We have a lot to do. We heard that from the floor today. There's still stuff that we need to get right. But hopefully you are seeing that we're making an all-out effort for all customers, but with equal priority on passengers with mobility impairment and special needs. We are making an all-out effort to make this system the pride of North America. It's still going to take a bit of time. My chair has heard me say, I've said in public, we need two things. We need money. And the good news is we now have a mayor and a council, I think, that get it and that they do know that we need money. But the other thing I've always said is we need time, which is why we said it would take 5 years to modernise the TTC. I still think that's doable. We have 2 years left of our 5-year plan, top to bottom. I hope you found the room better. I think it is better. It's certainly less echoey. I think it's a better environment. Generally better? Better? That's good. But keep the feedback coming. Give us the feedback on the cards, because if there's stuff that we still need to address, maybe the issue with the washroom that came up earlier, we'll happily do that. I wanted to just say a few thank yous. Jim, thank you for your moderating tonight. I wanted to cite our radio team and our special events team, Mary, wherever Mary is standing, but also the ladies with the microphones, and every single one of my colleagues, the people in the red shirts and the managers around the room. These events don't just come together, and we've all been at work probably since 7 a.m. this morning, and everyone has given up their time. So thank you, TTC colleagues. I really appreciate you doing this, and good job to the events team. A comment was made about commissioners. There have been commissioners here. I saw some non-board members here, actually. I think I saw Councillor Wong Tam earlier. But certainly we will take that message back. Yeah, we do want the commissioners to come, the board members to come. We've got an excellent turnout from my executive. I think with the exception perhaps of my chief people officer, I think my whole executive is here, which hopefully shows you that we're taking this seriously. I would like to thank Eve, the work that you're doing, and your Wheel-Trans team. What was again highly encouraging was the positive feedback for the most part. Most Wheel-Trans drivers, I think they're saints actually. I've told them that when I go down to the Lakeshore. I think they are genuinely compassionate people who have your best interests at heart. And what I'm definitely seeing, Eve, is under your leadership, picking up the good work of people who've gone before you. There's definitely improvements being made, so that's good. Let's keep that focus on customers. Now, as Chair Cole said at the start, we are quite determined to modernise the TTC. That's that 5-year mission that we set out on. And we are absolutely determined to deliver on that vision that we've set, which is a transit system that makes Toronto proud. But we can never say that it's a transit system that makes Toronto proud until the system is fully accessible, until accessibility is core to our thinking, and until all customers are treated with dignity and respect. And that is why, because words are great, but actions are better. That is why it's important, as you heard at the start, that every year we will act upon the feedback. We will give you a report the following year on what we've done with your feedback. But again, back to action speaking louder than words. It is why I have said to Mazin, as the chair of ACAT, and by the way, I echo what you said, Mitch. I think ACAT are world class at what they do. It's why I've said to Mazin, I've offered him or invited him to just consider how we might involve ACAT even more in the day-to-day running of the TTC, how we can hardwire ACAT presence into our executive, and how we can hardwire it into our strategy sessions. So Mazin's thinking about that. It's something I'm deadly serious about, that we would like to see people with mobility impairment and accessibility issues represented on this company. It's your company, it's not mine. So that is our firm commitment to you. You can continue to hold us fully accountable for delivering a modernised TTC, and ultimately for delivering an accessible transit system that makes Toronto proud. Thanks for coming, everyone. Let's see you again next year.